Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, we'll say Kolayim Yehovah Shmi Shah, the most of the elders and apostles of GMS Great Millstone, do and teach well. And brother here, Shamash One. So, here on NutchNews.com, Red Alert, Pentagon mobilizing thousands of aircraft for World War III confrontations with Russia, China. Right, like the scripture says, one war is passed, two more come after. Right, the first war that was passed, pretty sure it says in Revelation 9th chapter, the first war, first destruction. It's really, you want to say the first big destruction, because that's what a world war is. It's a large amount of destruction. These world wars work, one nation gets attacked and then that nation's allies join in the fight and other nations' allies join in the fight. And it just becomes a big shit show. Becomes a full-blown, full-scale war. It's different from a proxy war, like what's going on in, Ukraine right now, right? To a degree. It's more like a proxy war. On one side, you have Russia, like actual, Russian forces down on the ground. You could argue that Russia's using Wagner, that PMC group, as a proxy. But, it does kind of look like that group sort of has its own autonomy. I remember hearing stuff that they're running out of ammo and that they decided to go pull out themselves, and they kind of like move them around, and Russia brought in different people and I think Bakhmut or something. Don't ask me about that. I just occasionally check in with that whole situation. All that's prophecy, right? Matthew 24, all the other scriptures that are basically the exact same thing in like Luke. I think it's in Mark as well. It says the exact same thing, wars, pestilences, kingdom against kingdom. That's all prophecy. Right, and then you got Russia, obviously just being Russia. So yeah, you got that. Pretty sure the whole thing with Nicaragua, all across Central, South America, these different regimes that are, either pro-communist, and they're really getting backed up with like Russia and other nations like that. And then you got other times you have a pro-American government, which is just, proxy for America. And it happens all over the world. So a world war is much different from a proxy war, so suffice to say. I talked about that way too long. According to sources see below, the Pentagon is now taking thousands of mothballed military aircraft and restoring them to full service capability. There's an obvious run-up to World War III with both China and Russia. These aircraft include F-16s, C-130 transport planes. I think that's also a gunship. AWACS aircrafts and more. I might be thinking about something else, but never mind. This intel, also a gunship. I think there's something that's like called like a C something. One thing maybe 140, but it's just like a big ass gunship and shit. This intel has been related by John Moore, the Liberty Man, in his June 5th, 2023 podcast, right? Called John Moore yesterday to ask for additional information. He reiterated that his military-tied sources were observing so far hundreds of aircraft at the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, being taken out of storage and restored full service capacity. This process has only been underway for a few weeks and appears to involve hundreds of military personnel. Once restored, the aircraft were reportedly being sent to two destinations: the Philippines, a staging area for war with China, in Europe, most likely Poland, a staging area for war with Russia. This indicates that the Pentagon is gearing up for kinetic conflict with both Russia and China in the near future. More than likely, you could also probably argue that they're probably just going to give it to them and just stage a proxy war. But if they actually got into some minor conflicts, that would be okay too. It wouldn't lead directly into World War III, because we know that Jacob's trouble needs to come first. And World War III, I'm talking full scale, nuclear war, won't begin before the mark is given out, because that would make no sense. Because if they already start nuking and go full scale nuclear war, then number one, there would be no hour of temptation. Number two, there would be no one to even take the ship, and it wouldn't add up. Okay, so more than likely they're gonna give those aircraft to these people, even though they talk about direct NATO engagement. If that did occur, it wouldn't lead up to World War III as of yet in a full scale capacity. They may have little skirmishes, and that would be an unofficial start of World War III, but it wouldn't be a full blown nuclear war, full scale operation. Nuclear missiles and all that. They wouldn't go all the way. Alright, so let's get into this real quick. Revelation 16:14. For these spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth into the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the day, the battle of that great day of God Almighty. Right, so which God Almighty will be Shaja, which means like a demon-like power, or like a fearful, fear-inspiring power in a way. Right, so and devils, just means diamond. It really means like a deceiver, someone who's deceptive. Right. Which also got here Revelation 20:2. Behold, the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Basically represents Yahushua sitting that seal upon the minds of Esau for that 1,000 years, while Jacob's ruling and having the rulership, right? 1325, around about the 1300s, when Esau started to get his power back. Those Christian independent kingdoms started to get their shit together. They started driving out the Moors, and then in time they actually started to hunt the Moors down in Africa, and that's why he had slavery. They were hunting them down. To bring them into slavery as revenge for all the, the millennia that we ruled over them. We had our way with their woman, and we put them down. They just couldn't get it together before. I may not get it, but Habakkuk talks about. Right, so like experience, which go to the kings of the whole earth and to the whole world, right? Is not what they're doing. They're going off to these kings and leaders of these different nations and gathering together for that battle, right? They're going to use Poland as a staging area for war with Russia, and the Philippines as a staging area for war with China, right? Because the Philippines are having tensions with China over land ownership and like the the South China Sea. And they're kind of like, having debates over that. But let's go get the article. Yeah, so Spratly Islands dispute is an ongoing territorial dispute between China, the Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Brunei concerning ownership of the Spratly Islands, a group of islands and associated maritime features. Reefs, banks, and cays is located in the South China Sea. Philippines crunch China over South China Sea claims. Okay. Yep. So it's EP. Let's lock it. So Chinese Coast Guard ship blocked a Philippine patrol vessel steaming into a disputed shoal in the South China Sea, causing a frightening near collision in the latest act of Beijing's aggression in the strategic waterway. The high seas face off April 23rd between a larger Chinese ship and the Philippines Coast Guard's BRP Malabskula near 2nd Thomas Shaw was among the tense moments in another Philippine vessel accounted in a week-long submarine patrol one of the world's most hotly contested waterways. Alright, so you can go look into there, right? I'll read this a little bit. The Philippine Coast Guard invited a small group of journalists, including 3 from the Associated Press, to join the 1670-kilometer patrol for the first time. 1,670, I'll say it like that, kilometer patrol for the first time as part of a new Philippine strategy aimed at exposing China's increasingly aggressive actions in the South China Sea, where an estimated $5 trillion in global trade transits each year. Alright, so they're fighting over it. And what America's doing is gathering, the Philippines together. I believe there are actually Japhites in the Philippines. I believe so. And they, of course, dragging in, Poland. Which Poland's part of NATO and EU. It's part of the beast system and all that. And it's bringing them all together to that battle, the Great Day. Same thing talked about in Joel, the Valley of Joshua, was going to take place in the Middle East, which are things that they've been planning and orchestrating, the Illuminati since Albert Pike. He put that in some letter. I think he sent it to some Italian guy, and this Italian guy was I think he started the mafia. So yeah, this stuff is deep, and it's not really deep, but it's been planned for a hot minute, and the scriptures line up with it directly. Dude, what the fuck? Why is it up there? Come back down here. Alright, so this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I may do a part 2. I'm going to get into more of this. Jeremiah 15:8, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans and be as the he goes before the flocks. Right? The real removal will be for the chariots, he goats, before the flocks. Meaning, you learn enough to lead and then lead. First fruits is later. You got Isaiah 54:17. What does it say? Oh yeah, servant says of me. So yeah, you gotta learn enough and you teach. And there's another scripture that talks about they shall seek the way to Zion. So scriptures has been prophesied for us to get out of that spiritually dead state, and start coming back, trying to seek our power, which is what, which went down when, with Albert Bivens, I should have won West, and then, passed on down to GMS, the other camps, they're teaching, they push out the message, and they push out the truth for certain things. They just don't, get into everything, and they're wrong on certain things. They're not, they don't have the fullness of the, complete breakdowns, Like I say, GMS has 100% truth, and I believe that. It's not like, it's just, the truth is the truth. It's not like, we just make meat it up. The truth, the facts are the facts. The facts are facts. We got it from the Most High, alright? You can't debate it, alright? Which, our elders, so on and so forth. Raised and caused to come up against Babylon, assembly of great nations for the north country, Russia. He shall set themselves in array against her. From thence should be taken. The arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man, and shall return in vain. The arrows talking about the missiles, because that's the articles. It's really going to get ready to talk about. I don't think I talked about it yet, but they talk about ICBMs, and they discuss that as well. They shall be spoiled, and all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. So not just Russia, all the nations that are allied with Russia. Ezekiel 38 talks about that. The nations that are under Russia, it talks about Russia, be a guard unto them, right? China doesn't really need Russia to be a guard unto them like that. China can stand on its own, but China will be one of the nations that will spoil, America, and shall be satisfied. I'll skip down to verse 14. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all you that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spin her arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord. Alright? Yep, all you nuclear nations, fire upon America. And here's more ICBM scriptures, if you want it. So yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it anymore for now. I'll probably talk about something else. As always, I'm going to once again say, all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashan. And